Hello. I've been reading this book for my class on women's history at UNBC, and it's called Frauen, German Women Recall the Third Reich. And it's oral history, and the author, Alison Owings, has gone through and interviewed 29 different women throughout West and East Germany, because at the time the wall was still up. And she talks with these women, and they discuss each of their own experiences in relation to the Third Reich, in relation to Hitler, and in relation to the Jewish question. It's really fascinatingly depressing, if that's a good juxtaposition of words to put together. Each woman obviously has a different experience, but there are a lot of similarities with all of them, for the fact being that they're women, and their experience is going to be different than a male experience by that fact. As many people are aware of, Hitler had the racial laws in place, especially in regards to the supremacy of the Aryan, quote-unquote, Aryan race. And obviously, Jews weren't included in that, and they were one of the subhuman races. And through a long history of racism and just social Darwinism and a lot of horrible, horrible thoughts and discussions that are just ridiculously depressing, and I don't have enough time in this video to discuss, they came to be criminalized in a lot of ways and persecuted during the Third Reich in Germany. And I also want to just say right off the bat that it wasn't just Germany that persecuted Jews in this period. There's a long history of persecution against Jews, and it wasn't just Hitler. And I also want to say that during the Second World War, places like Canada refused to allow Jewish people to enter their borders, and very few countries were actually willing to take them on, even though the final solution was being instituted. Alison Owings asks each woman what they think about what happened in Germany, if they knew what was happening, and so far, almost every single woman had heard rumors of sorts. And so it's really interesting seeing the level of each woman, if they knew what was going on, what they personally thought of it. And I read a really sad case from Frau Rina and her exotic past, being a half Jewish woman in the Third Reich, and the fact that being half Aryan saved her life. Frau Rina discusses her life as a racially half Jewish woman in the Third Reich, and she had been raised Christian, and her family had been baptized Christian for a few generations now at this point. And to her, she had no cultural ties with Judaism. So she discusses this, and she says, you know, when one has another relationship to the Jewish religion and culture, it's probably less of a burden. But when one has none at all, my grandparents are already baptized. I grew up in an absolutely Christian home, and suddenly one is put in a caste to which one has no relation at all. That sticks to you for the rest of your life. Somehow, idiotically, I couldn't even speak about it to my daughters. You will not believe how many running starts I took until I could speak to my daughters, always thinking, now you have to talk about it, and then my throat seemed to close, and once again, I could not. It was just so difficult for her to even discuss it. And then she talks about the Nuremberg race laws, and Alison Owings writes that she said she noticed later that her daughters listened to the information about the Third Reich as if it's a story that no longer has to do with them. And the Nuremberg race laws, I have not yet been able to bring myself to tell them that, yeah, you two are also still a quarter not Aryan. It's not a reality to them. And then I always think, well, these details of the Third Reich, why should I rub their noses in it? And if no one cares about it anymore, why bother anyone? And then they are spared these whole schisms and burdens, which I had, and that was really the reason. And I think that histories like this are really important. I'm thankful that authors like Alison Owings has gone and interviewed these women and taken and recorded each of their stories and tried to keep a distinctness between them. She didn't conglomerate them all into one narrative, and instead, she treats them as separate individuals, and they're separate chapters. There's no There's no link between them. There's no theme running throughout the book. It's each woman discussing her relationship to the Third Reich as a German woman. And it's very interesting that even Frau Groth, she discusses how she felt German. That she didn't identify herself as as a Jewish or an Aryan woman, but that she was German. And it also discusses why many Jewish people did not leave Germany because they felt German. They had a tie to Germany. And it's to me, it was really depressing reading this book, and I'm still reading it, and it's very interesting, and I think that we have a lot to learn from these stories, and I think that a lot of people should be reading these first-hand accounts and these oral histories, and discuss them, and I don't know, I think it's really important. I think that this book is as hard as it's reading for some of the stories, especially one of the stories where I think it was Frau Mund, where she was an all-out Jew hater and very pro-Nazi, very pro-Hitler. It was very hard for me to read because I just wanted to like reach out and be like, no, these are people. They're not just Jewish people. They're not defined by their race. But my question is, how often do we do this today? And we do it every day. We look over the Middle East and we're like, well, they're just Middle Eastern people. They're just the Taliban. They're just Muslims. They're extremists. They're this, they're that. No, they're not. Not everyone thinks the same. Everyone is an individual with individual beliefs and individual problems and frustrations that are influencing them and what they think and what they're doing. So, anyway, I'm sorry and I apologize that this video is going to be long in advance. If I was a vlog brother, I would plead this is an educational video! Don't punish me! Yay! So yeah, what do you guys think? I'm not sure what you've studied concerning World War II and the Holocaust. I'm not sure what you have studied concerning contemporary issues. Anyway, have yourselves a great day. And I will see you later.